Hello. Welcome to the Animal Action Day live stream. We have an Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife, amazing event coming up at the Mermaid Waters Hotel on November 19. And here today we are sharing with you some of the amazing people involved with the event. And we have Keith Potker from the Seekers fame. It's very exciting to have you here, Keith. And we have Dana the Connector here, very connected lady on the Gold Coast who does some amazing work. We have Jenny Abbott from Aussie Wildlife, which is the charity we are supporting, an amazing grassroots charity in Nerang, and Annie Burke, our animal communicator from Brisbane. Soon Marina will pop back in. In fact, speak of Marina, here she is. We'll pop her back in here in the stage. Marina Bonnet from Save the Swans. Now, firstly, let's chat with Keith. Keith, what an honour to have you as part of our event. So excited that you can join us, considering everyone's volunteering their time, and I'm sure you've been paid a lot of money over the years in the Seekers and achieved amazing fame there. You're like a household name. So what has that ride been like for you, Keith?
Well, it's been fantastic, and it's still going. That's the lovely thing about it. And because of functions like I'll be doing on Sunday, the 19th of November up at Mermaid Waters, it gives me a great deal of pleasure and gratification, actually, to be able to meet people and help people, and it just keeps going on. So I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to Sunday the 19th.
Wonderful. Can you give us a sneak peek into the past? We can learn so much from history, right? Now, how did the Seekers come about, and did you ever expect the kind of fame that you had?
Well, the Seekers came about because Athol Guy and I had a group before the Seekers, and that group disbanded. And once we started to configure the group, we were all in Melbourne at the time. It turned out that Athol Guy and Bruce Woodley and myself, we looked around and found a wonderful singer by the name of Ken Ray. And so not a lot of people know that the Seekers were four blokes to start off with, you see. And this is in early 1962. And then Ken Ray decided to get married and leave the group. And that was all very amicable and friendly. And anyway, he had a fantastic high voice. So instead of replacing him with another bloke, we looked around for a girl. And that was when we became aware of little Judy Durham, as she was called in those days. And she was making quite a name for herself in Melbourne at the trad jazz clubs that she was playing in. And completely by chance, she came to work in the advertising agency that Athol Guy was an account director of. And so Athol asked Judith whether she'd like to join Athol, Bruce and me at the Treble Clef Cafe in South Yarra. Coffee lounge it was in those days, and she said yes. And so that was in December 1962, and we've been going ever since. And so last year was our 60th anniversary of being a group together.
Amazing. Wow. And what do you think part of the success was of being so successful? What were some of the tips and tricks you can give us for those that are maybe in the music industry and have their sights set for fame? What are some bits of wisdom you can give them?
Well, first tip is never give up. Don't give up. Just keep going. Make sure you never give up. But in our case, we had a magnificent songwriter working on our behalf, Tom Springfield, who went on to produce all our singles and albums. And he became pretty much the fifth Seeker, actually. And he died only a couple of weeks before Judith died last year. So we lost a couple of our really close friends and allies and loved ones in the space of a couple of weeks last year. But that's so songs. Yeah. So never give up, songs, and make sure that you believe in yourself. I think that's probably my three tips. They're the sorts of things that I've been following.
Wonderful. And what are some of the things you're doing nowadays?
I'm performing solo shows, and I have a program that I've developed with my partner Elizabeth Hawkes, and we call that Celebrating the Seekers. and it goes right back to the early days before the Seekers, and bringing us right up to the current day. And that also includes a tribute that I've put together to our little sister Judith Durham, and she's very much in our mind constantly, of course. And so that's a program that I've been promoting. Just got back from Tasmania, actually, where I presented that show several times down there, and also in South Australia. And I'm hoping to bring it up to Queensland at some stage. So you never know.
Wonderful. We're going to get a sneak peek, no doubt, at the Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife on November 19. And thank you so much. And thanks to Lynn Santa, who actually helped to organise for you to come. So huge shout out to Lynn Santa. She's been at 16 of the 17 annual Animal Action events that we've had, and she does some amazing work with her Land of the Free documentary and helping to end trophy hunting of endangered animals. So huge shout out to Lynn. She's been on that crusade for 20 years, and she's making some headway along with some phenomenal people in Hollywood, and right. Hats off to her. Now, Keith, I'm curious. We've got Paul McCartney coming out here from the Beatles. He's going to be actually here on the Gold Coast on Saturday night. Ooh. And I wonder if he gets sick of doing the Beatles songs. And so I wonder with you, Keith, do you ever get sick of doing some of the Seekers songs?
No, I never get sick of them. I really do not get sick of them because, A, they're wonderful songs, and B, they gave us a fantastic life, and C, and not least of all, C, is that they give people so much pleasure and satisfaction. And the number of times I get told that the people remember exactly where they were when they heard, let's say, Georgia Girl or I'll Never Find Another You or something like that, and they relate to it. And the number of people who've been married to I'll Never Find Another You, and I shouldn't say this, but maybe divorced for the carnival is over, but that's another story. So no, we don't. No, that's not. No. Forget that I said that. Thank you.
Oh, it's funny. Well, I used to do photography at weddings, actually, and I always wondered how long they'd last because, of course, we know, 60% of marriages do end in divorce. In fact, the Seekers' 60-year anniversary, that's longer than a lot of marriages, I would imagine.
Indeed it is. Yep, very much so. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, it'll be amazing. And you look so healthy, Keith. You look so young and healthy. I mean, what do you do fitness-wise to,
Well, I'm a vegetarian. I don't know how much that counts, but I also do a little bit of exercise and just generally keep a very positive attitude. I don't rehearse anywhere near as much as I should, but that won't stop me from doing a decent show on Sunday the 19th. I've got to say, it's going to be fun.
Fantastic.
I have my 12-string guitar, and in fact, I've just been given a little song list of favorites by the aforementioned Lynn Santa, who said she'd like to hear and this one and that one and the other one. So I won't give that away, but I'll be doing all of those, and I especially like this one as much as I like that one. So you'll all have fun.
Oh, wonderful. I love it. And so it'll be a bit of a surprise what we're going to get. And you're going to do a signing as well. So what are you going to be signing and selling on the day as well?
Well, I had this fantastic triple CD album that was put out by Decca last year. And it was to celebrate the fact that the group had racked up 60 years. So 3 CDs, 60 songs for 60 years. And the title track is called Carry Me. And it was a song that Bruce Woodley wrote some years ago, and Judith had put a vocal on it. But it somehow got put on the back burner, and we didn't really think about it until April of last year, when suddenly we were looking around for other material that perhaps we could record with Judith, and then up pops this track. So I arranged some harmonies for Athol and Bruce and me, and we put our guitars and the double bass on and all that, and Michael Cristiano mixed it and finished it all off. and it's become the last song that the Seekers recorded, because we were able to play the finished track to Judith in May last year, and she was absolutely knocked out with it. So we were very, very pleased that it turned out that way.
I must say, when you mentioned the carnival is over, I was always a big fan of Nick Cave growing up. And in fact, I saw Nick Cave at the Enmore Theatre in Sydney when I was 16, and he did a great version of the carnival is over. And it was a really deep version. Of course, he was from Melbourne as well originally.
Yep.
And that song has just got such a vibe about it. It's got such and the way he did it, I guess, also.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was when I think of the Seekers, I think it was beautiful melodic music that really hit the heartstrings. And so when it came to actually writing the song, was the writing of the song shared amongst the members, or was it mainly, one or two members?
Yeah, we were lucky because it was actually Tom Springfield who provided us with all those hit songs. I shouldn't say all of them. He didn't write Morningtown Ride, for instance. He didn't write a few other songs, but nevertheless, he was really behind the production and the choice of the songs as well. And so I guess we were really lucky that we had that strong platform of all those great songs. And that led then on to the rest of the group writing songs. Bruce Woodley started off writing his own songs first, and that was quite early in our career. And then Judith had a go, and she wrote a couple of successful songs as well. I was a bit of a late starter, and it wasn't until the mid-90s that I really started to get into songwriting properly, even though I'd been writing before. Most of the material that I had written was not suitable for the Seekers. So there we are.
Got it. And are there any particular gigs that are really memorable for you from back in the day?
Well, I have to say we were thrilled to bits to be playing the Royal Albert Hall on a couple of occasions. That was in 1994 we first went there, and then as part of our tour in 2013, 2014, we played the Royal Albert Hall again as the finale on 2 nights for our UK tour. That was quite something. But another really strong memory for us was in 1965 being voted the top best new group in the UK, and that led to us being part of a whole collection of incredible artists at the Wembley Arena. The Beatles were topping the list, and the Stones were second, and there were all these others. Kinks, Dusty Springfield was on. Some of the solo acts, we were surrounded by all these amazing acts that were so popular in the UK at that time, and of course by extension, they were popular in America as well, because the Great British Invasion had taken over the world, including America.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I used to love the Kinks. You just mentioned the Kinks. So who were some other people you met that some of us might know? Some other big names.
We had quite a lot of contact with a lot of these acts because of the chart success that we had, and the BBC program that was called Top of the Pops meant that if you were in the top 30, you had a chance of being featured on television. And so there were all those other groups, and solo acts. Tom Jones, for instance, was a good friend, and Olivia Newton-John, when she had come over from Australia to England in 1967, and she and Pat Carroll, they were a duo at that time, and they did an appearance with us on one of our Sunday seasons that we had, the summer seasons that they have in England, and in Bournemouth, for instance, on that particular occasion. Who else? I mean, the Hollies, Sandy Shaw. Yeah. Anyway, there were lots, and some of them are still people that we are in touch with, which is just great.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if any of our other beautiful Animal Action Day supporters would like to ask Keith any questions
Hey,
before he leaves, then please
yeah,
unmute yourself if you'd like to, if you have any questions for Keith as well.
yeah.
We're just so excited, Keith, that you're coming. You're like the biggest name that we've had at our events, and we've had some big, we've had Dean Vegas at our event, the world's #1 Elvis impersonator. We've had Roger Davey from Vivace Entertainment, one of the co-founders of the Ten Tenors, has performed at our events. We've had some
Yeah.
phenomenal performers over the years.
Uh-huh.
We've had Herb Armstrong, the grandson of Louis Armstrong, perform at our events. We've had some phenomenal performers, but I'd say you top the pops here,
Oh,
Keith.
well, that's really, really interesting, and as I said, I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be great, and there'll be a lot of songs that people know, and I expect that there'll be quite a decent choir that'll develop as the show goes on, because you want people to join in and have fun. That's while they're raising money for this wonderful cause.
That's wonderful. And I think Dana has a question, which we'll come to in just a sec. But I am curious, when did you become a vegetarian and why, Keith?
When I became a vegetarian in about 1993, yeah, and it was because I was having some issues with my vocal cords and getting mucus on the vocal cords, and I underwent a couple of tests, and that meant giving up meat. And then once I had done that, I realized that there was a philosophical background to giving up meat as well. So that's where I am at the moment, is that I haven't eaten any meat, shellfish, chicken, whatever, and since then. And I feel great, and I'm not exactly going out there, beating my chest and proselytizing about it all. But if anyone asks me, then I will say that it's because I believe that humans should be intelligent enough to do without killing animals.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that,
Really,
Keith. And in fact, one of the reasons I started the Animal Action Day back in 2007 is I saw a documentary called Earthlings, and I was so horrified by what I saw in that documentary that I literally was holding my throat and crying at the end of it. And I thought, I've got to do something to help animals. And sometimes we need to be shocked into actually taking action, taking drastic action. And I know there's a lot of vegans, and I know there's a lot of animal lovers that do eat meat too. And everyone to their own on that. Everyone needs to make the choice for themselves. I think if you are going to eat meat, the humane treatment of animals is what it's about. That's how I look at it. Now, Dana, I know you had. Dana was saying, "Oh, that was a question you were going to ask, right, Dana?" I'm going to pass it over to you here, though. Have something you want to say?
I was
yeah.
great minds think alike, Audwin. I was going to ask Keith the same question, actually. So there you go. So let me, on the spot, think of a new question. Keith, I'm in the travel industry, and I'm curious. Is there a destination on your bucket list that you haven't been to that you'd love to go to? If I was ever going to be in a situation where Audwin and I were going to put together a travel junket, and you were to get involved, that we could, where would you want to go? Or is there a destination because you've got a mission around animals somewhere? I know there's a few things we talked about behind the scenes, but where's a destination that's sort of, important to you?
Well, I've just been to some fantastic destinations, so it's been a bit tricky to come up with a special one like this. But just as you were framing the question, I believe that I would really love to go back to Ceylon, Sri Lanka, the land of my birth, and spend some quality time there with the elephants, and that's and the orphan elephants in particular, I suppose, that are being brought up without their parents, and that's it probably. Yeah, Sri Lanka, Colombo. Here I come. Thank you, Dana. Okay.
Great question. I love that. And I love the elephants too. I've actually been to Pattaya Elephant Sanctuary twice now in the last 2 years. And every time I've gone there, amazing sanctuary just south of Bangkok there. And they have these rescued elephants, and you actually walk with them through the jungle and you bathe them. These beautiful elephants, and it costs them a fortune to keep them there. And they have no, government funding. Obviously, so much corruption in Thailand. Let's not get started on that. But I mean, there's some amazing people doing phenomenal things for elephants. And Denny, you had an elephant story too that maybe we'll share after this. I know you have to hop off soon, Keith. So before you go, now we do have how people can connect with you. Of course, keithpotka.com. I'll pop that in here. And Keith, anything else you want to share with us about what you do or what you've got coming up? Like, what are you looking forward to maybe coming up for you? You look like you're just getting started on this journey, Keith. You look so young and vibrant.
Well, one of the things that that we do in my little hometown of Braidwood in New South Wales, not very far from Canberra, if anyone knows that district, is that we live right in my partner Elizabeth and I live right in the centre of town, and across the road from us is the most fantastic old theatre. It's called the National Theatre, and so we promote shows there, and we've had some wonderful acts. Eric Bogle, Shane Howard, Steve Kilby. We've had the Lost Legends band. Oh, anyway, it's lots of people, and it's a fantastic little space. And we've just got coming up Fred Smith on the 3rd of December, and he's a local hero, and we love him. But that's one of the things I love doing, is because it's a way of opening up our district to some fantastic acts that otherwise perhaps would not have visited us, and that's giving us both a lot of gratification. But otherwise, I'm still writing songs. I'm working towards completing another CD. That'll be sometime before Easter of next year. And what else am I doing? That's about it, really. And keeping my guitars in tune is another thing, another challenge.
Yes, I love that. And how do you want to be remembered, Keith?
Well, my phone number. Shall I give you my phone?
Yeah, for a good time. Call Keith.
No, I don't know. How would I like to be remembered? Well, I think I'd like to be remembered as somebody who provided some joy.
Beautiful. Well, you've certainly provided joy here on our live stream today. Thank you so much for joining us, Keith. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we are so looking forward to seeing you at the Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife on November 19 at the Quality Hotel, Mermaid Waters. Anything else you'd like to share with us before you go?
Oh, just to reiterate that I'm really looking forward to it as well. So it came out of the blue, this request, and it was just so appropriate that I had the time to spare to be able to link up with you all in Mermaid Waters on the 19th. It's going to be fun.
So exciting, and I'm sure people can't wait to get a hold of whatever it is you're selling. They'll want it all, and I'm sure they're going to want photos with you and the whole lot. So be prepared to get mobbed at the end of your show, Keith.
Yeah, actually, one thing I should mention is that I told Lynn that there's going to be donated a CD pack, so there'll be the 3 CD set of the Seekers. There'll be my solo CDs and a DVD. And that'll be all as a raffle item. So whatever price you put on it for as a raffle item to raise funds, and that'll be my pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. And will that be autographed, Keith?
Oh yes. For the winner of the raffle, I will autograph it personally to them with their name. So it's not just me signing something. It'll be personally signed to the winner of the raffle when the raffle's drawn.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, that is just absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure Jenny will have something to say about that from Aussie Wildlife, because all the funds are going to Aussie Wildlife. So Jenny, is there anything you'd like to share about that donation?
Yeah, thank you so much. No, that's absolutely wonderful. I'm so happy that you're joining us, and thank you for spending your time.
That's right. My pleasure. And we do find that these raffle items often raise quite a bit of money, actually. So I think it should be it should be good to promote that as well. And anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. So here I come, Brisbane. I'm in Mermaid
Thank
Waters.
you.
I better not lose my way.
It's in that vicinity. And I actually went to Canberra Uni, Keith, so I know your area very, very well. Yeah.
There you go.
And I was
Yeah.
born in Queanbeyan, so
Oh, there you go.
Oh, help! Indian. Oh my goodness! I'm surrounded by you all. Goodness
I
gracious!
know, goodness me.
I didn't think anyone would know where Braidwood was, but you all know it.
See,
All
half of
right.
us in Queensland now, so it's too cold in Canberra. It's yeah, absolutely wonderful. And for those who can't attend the event and want to get a hold of your products, of course, the website is the place to go, keithpotker.com, right there on the screen. You'll see that also in the Animal Action Events Facebook page. Thank you so much, Keith. Any final words before you? I mean, you're welcome to stay, but I know you have to run.
No, thank you very much. I'm expecting a call from my son in England, actually, because of the time difference. So there's this, we've arranged to meet, and this lovely event crossed over that. So here we go. What I'd like to say is good luck to you all. It's a most magnificent effort, and what you're doing is to be applauded, and it's most impressive. So thank you. I'm really looking forward to becoming a part of your activities. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Keith.
Thank
It's
you,
such an
Keith.
honor. Sending you love with our little love heart here. Sending you lots of love. Thank you so much. We are so looking forward to seeing you. Keith Potker from the Seekers fame. My goodness, absolute legend, coming to join us at the Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife. So exciting. Yeah, absolutely. I'm mind blown that Keith's going to be there, and can't wait to hear the beautiful music. And of course, we've got the signing there and the raffle prize. So much exciting stuff.
Thank you.
Thank
you can move me down to another spot on the screen now.
Thank you. We'll pop you down here. All right, that's great. Okay, well, let's have a chat to Jenny. Let's talk about what the Aussie Wildlife does, how you started Aussie Wildlife, and the cause that we're supporting.
Yeah, sure. So I was actually used to be I was a wildlife carer for quite some time. Wasn't something I wanted to do. I didn't sort of choose, okay, today I'm going to be a wildlife carer. I happened to go to a course and I just said, this is for me. It was a training course on how to look after wildlife and how to rescue wildlife. And I just went, no, that's me all over. I need to start doing this. So I started off with a cage or two at the back of the house and did the odd animal. And then it snowballed and I built aviaries and I built swan ponds and another aviary and then another aviary and then blocked off half the yard. So it just keeps been getting bigger and bigger. And then I started up the charity Aussie Wildlife. So I decided to go out on my own and see if I can make a bigger difference. So that's why I chose to do that.
Amazing. And how many animals have you now cared for in your time as a carer?
Thousands. So yeah, we average about 500 a year. So we mostly specialise in birds. They're sort of the unloved heroes, I suppose, a little bit. You know, everyone loves the warm and cuddly fuzzies, but they're actually pretty cool. They have lots of personality. They're fun to interact with, and especially the magpies. I've got about 20 baby magpies at the moment, and they're all in the one aviary, and they're playing with each other, and they're rolling over, and they're sticking their legs in the air and fighting, and it's like watching a puppy dog play, except it's a bird.
Oh, so beautiful. In fact, I had a magpie just on my balcony today. I've got some water I leave out for the birds, and this magpie was just drinking away. And I thought, it's so lovely that I can help this magpie, And there's something we can all do to help wildlife, isn't there? And so what are some of the tips you would give people to make a difference in their own backyard?
Oh, there's certainly tons of things that people can do, and a simple thing is just leaving out water, especially this time of year. It's dry and we do see a lot of animals struggling at the moment. We're probably busier this year than we were last year, so there's definitely been a shift. More animals are coming in, more birds are coming in. So whether or not it's just the fact that there's just not enough water out there. So, or whether they've decided to have too many babies, they all just went nuts and said, "Yeah, we're all going to get pregnant. Let's have babies." I'm not quite sure, but it's very it's quite busy this year, busier than last year, and it seems to be getting busier every year. There's habitat destruction, which is causing a lot of the issues, and us encroaching on their environment. So a lot of backyards are getting smaller. A lot of concrete, not too many gardens. So, but there's still little things that people can do within their backyards, no matter how small, picking the right trees, keeping things mulched so that, animals can go down and forage in the mulch and things like that. Lots of understory so things can get away and hide. Water in your backyard, a little fish pond is always good as well. So there's certainly lots of things, but I'll talk about quite a bit of that on the day as well, just let everyone know what they can do.
I must say, every time I do an animal action event, I always learn something about some animals that I didn't know about. And something I didn't know about this time around, and chatting with Marina from Save the Swans, who's having some internet connection issues at the moment. So she's been hopping in and out. But, what I learned from Marina when we did the media call, we had Channel 9 out to Aussie Wildlife in Nerang recently. And thank you to Channel 9, our media supporters and sponsors of this event, which we've had lots over the years, and no doubt more. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more media coming out closer to the event as well. Something I learned that I didn't realize was such a bad issue was the fishing line issue, with the fishermen leaving their fishing gear, their fishing lines all around the place. And also a lot, like when Marina actually sent me a photo, she said, "I've just rescued these two swans, these cygnets actually, these two baby swans, and one of them had eaten a fish hook, and because they're bottom dwellers, they actually eat the fish hooks often. This happens often because people go fishing and they just cut their line, they leave their crap everywhere, and then a lot of the birds, they catch onto the fishing line and then they go and fly up to the trees, and then they get caught on the tree, and a lot of them will just die up in the trees." And I had no idea about this. So how are you seeing more of this kind of thing, Jenny? How bad is the situation?
Yes, we're certainly seeing a lot more. It's a shame Marina couldn't pop on, because I think she said that she's actually done 7 just in this last week or so. So all fish hook injuries, which is in all swans that she's had to rescue. So it's certainly getting a lot more than what there ever has been in the past. And it could be just because we're getting more awareness about it as well, and people are starting to see it happen, because they're seeing swans that are injured in their backyards and in their space and in their environments.
Gosh, it's absolutely horrifying even thinking of a poor swan swallowing a fish hook. It's absolutely horrifying. And I mean, I wonder how many actually survive from that.
Well, that's right. But they can also have, the little lead balls that are on the sinkers. Yeah, so they actually swallow those as well, and they're poisonous. So the swans will die as a general rule if they swallow one of those, because they get poisoned by the metals.
How long would it take them to die from that lead poisoning?
It'd be horrible. It would take a while. It would be a slow, horrible death.
Wow. Well, I'm certainly, keeping an eye out now, and I picked up a whole lot of rubbish actually after I left the media call the other day in Nerang, and I've been so conscious of rubbish around waterways. And it's very simple. Just pick up your rubbish, guys, put it in the bin. If you're going fishing, don't just cut the line. Take your bloody lines with you. It's just it's horrible, and it's just so many people are just so bloody inconsiderate out there that a lot of them unfortunately do go fishing. And then of course there's the story of all the kids on the Gold Coast that have been in their dinghies and have been running over swans. Absolute animal cruelty. And personally I think we should bring the cane back. Personally, I really do think we should bring the cane back, because too many kids, particularly teenagers, getting away with murder. The harshest penalty for animal cruelty in Queensland is 2 years imprisonment, and as far as I know, it has never been handed down. And this is the thing, when we grew up, like when I grew up in Sydney in the 80s, 90s, it was the cane, and people were actually scared. They were worried about doing things sort of, against the law, or doing things that were going to, harm others. Whereas now people are literally getting away with murder, and there needs to be, I believe, we need to just crack down on this, and we need to do something about it, because it is absolutely disgusting that these kids are getting away with murder. That's my opinion.
Right. And there was a few swans that they managed to run over and kill as well. So it's, it wasn't a once-off event. They did run over several animals. So it wasn't excuse. There was no excuse of why they did it. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just they were out thinking it was fun, which is just horrendous how a child these days can have that sort of mentality that they just want to do that.
It's absolutely sick. And you wonder what the parents of these kids are like, you wonder what they're thinking right now. Like, I mean, we are breeding num-nums. I call them num-nums in Australia. We're breeding a whole lot of num-nums, and we're paying for people to not work in Australia. In fact, we pay a lot of people not to work. Why would people work when the government's so generous with the taxpayers' money, which they tax very highly anyone who does work, right? And they tax them to the hilt. And then give the money to all these num-nums, and the num-nums are breeding num-nums, and this is what we're ending up with. There's a whole lot of animal cruelty. Okay, so let's not get started. I do speak my truth, and I may offend you, and if I haven't offended you already, I probably will by the end of this show. But something needs to be done. Something needs to be done about this, right? And it's absolutely horrible. Annie, Dana, what are your thoughts about this? Who'd like to speak about this topic? Just unmute yourself if you would like to. You're both speechless. I just
did a comment. Go, Annie.
Sorry. I think, I prefer to focus on the positive and the difference that we can make for animals. But certainly when I've spoken with rescue animals, they're very aware of some circumstances that they've experienced where they haven't had a good start to life. And I spoke to a snake a few months ago, and he wants his mum to actually advocate for higher penalties for mistreatment of animals. So, it is something that's happening in our community. And as you say, the penalties aren't a deterrent. And, animals have souls just like we do. They feel pain just like we do, and emotions. So, if animals die or, they fall out of a tree and they can't be relocated with their families again, that all plays a psychological and emotional impact on them, which a lot of people aren't aware of. So, there's a lot that we can do to make a difference for animals, and it's multifactorial. There's things like you've talked about the fishing lines, there's things about legislation with deterrence, how do you screen people who are adopting a rescue animal to make sure that they're going to look after them properly. So I think, there's lots of different things at different levels, but basically all the rescue animals I've spoken with, I'm in awe of them because they trust humans enough to give them a second chance to look after them properly after what they've experienced perhaps the first time around. And what they want is love and security. And it's not that hard to give to them, but people need to be aware that's what they want. And I think the hidden thing is whatever trauma they've experienced to become a rescue animal, that's hidden. Like we can see their physical scars heal. So like if they've broken a wing or broken a leg or something, we can see that, but we don't know what they're dealing with inside. And so if it's a baby who's been abandoned and they never see their family again, what impact is that going to have on them? There's all these factors that animals do carry their emotional scars for a long time, and they're hidden, and that can really affect them. And that's why, it was just so interesting because I spoke to some of Jenny's swans. She's got a beautiful swan family with a mother, father and the 3 babies. And that was the first thing the mum said to me was, we're safe here. And so she really appreciated the fact that they'd been rescued and they were now in a safe environment before they get released to go to another safe environment. So they're really aware of the issues affecting them as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Annie. And, there might be people skeptical about, communicating with animals. Now, you have many, many examples of evidence. In fact, I've interviewed you and we've, chatted multiple times, and you helped me really when my cat died recently, nearly 16 years of age, Tiger. And out of all the 1,000-odd interviews I've done, Tiger sat with me the whole time on my lap while I was doing that interview with you. And that's never happened before on any other interviews. So I know that you do have a special gift with communicating with animals. And so for those who might be doubting this, I totally 100% believe that you have communicated with these animals. And of course, there will be skeptics. So what do you say to the skeptics, Annie?
Look, I have just had some remarkable stories from animals, especially animals in spirit. So if you're going to be skeptical about animal conversations, talking into an animal in spirit is just kind of up there on the extreme of the work that I do. But in my experience, the animals are so intelligent that they've actually been giving me what I call a code word, which is a word that means nothing to me, but it's deeply significant to their parents. And so one of the examples, I had a cat who told me tomatoes, and I couldn't think, why is a cat telling me tomatoes? I don't eat them. But she wanted to reincarnate as a dog, and she was telling me all this information. And I thought, maybe she wants to eat them. She told me that she wanted to come back as a terrier. And so I looked up, is it safe for dogs to eat tomatoes? And apparently, yes, it is, as long as there's no stems or leaves or flowers, and they're very ripe tomatoes and only a very small quantity. But on this page with the safety information about tomatoes is a picture of a Scotty dog with a bowl of tomatoes. And this was just like a minute after this cat told me that she's coming back as a Scotty dog. And I thought, that's just phenomenal. And then when I told the mum, she said, oh, Annie, tomatoes are my favourite thing. I eat them every day, and the cat knows that. So that was the cat giving the message to mum to confirm I was definitely speaking with her. And I've just got so many examples of obscure words that mean absolutely nothing to me, make no sense with the context of the conversation we're having. But when I tell the parents, they explain what they mean. And so that just gives them that confirmation and proof that I've definitely connected with their animal, because there's no way these random words and names of animals and all sorts of things get into my head apart from the animal having to tell me. And it can just give the humans so much peace getting answers to their questions, but it also gives our animals peace too, because they get a chance to pass on their wisdom and information to their humans. So it's just lovely being a conduit for the two-way conversation. So whether they're living or in spirit, we can connect with them telepathically. And that's why I was particularly interested to come and meet some of Jenny's birds, just to hear their perspectives, because I've spoken to lots of different kinds of rescue animals. I have spoken with pet birds, but talking to the rescue birds, I just wanted to see what they wanted to say. And that was just amazing, to getting that message about safety as the first thing she wanted to tell me.
Amazing. Gosh, and I got goosebumps as you were sharing about that then. So I know there's truth in what you're saying, and I've seen your work. It's amazing. And you are an international best-selling author as well. You regularly, convey the spirit messages of the animals for people that actually have animals that are alive, as well as those that have passed. And so what are some of the ways that you work with people now, Annie, and what are some of the books that you've put out?
Yeah, look, there's a few different things. So my main focus now is working with animal parents and helping them to master telepathic communication so they can actually connect with their own animals, living and in spirit. And so I work with them one-on-one in the mentorship program for 3 months, and they practice with their animals, or they can practice with my animals. And it's just amazing the depth of wisdom our animals have. So I'm just learning all the time with these conversations. So animals know why we're here. They know what our life purpose is. They know what our life lessons are, and they can actually give us constructive advice on what we need to do. I just think that's amazing. So I offer the mentorship program. I also have conversations with animals. So if people have got animals who are living maybe with behaviour issues that they don't understand why, or health issues, I can ask the animals what's happening, or I can connect with their animal in spirit. Sometimes they may not have been there to say goodbye, or they may not know why their animal passed away when they did. Animals have good medical knowledge, so they can tell me what's actually happened. I also offer free masterclasses for animal parents, and I do that once a month. And my next class is actually the day before our event, and I'm actually talking about understanding your rescue animal. So if you'd like to connect with me, that's a free online masterclass on Saturday, the 18th of November, Brisbane time. I also have a podcast called What Animals Tell Me, where I share some of the amazing experiences I've had with animals, but also interview people who work with animals in unique ways. and I've published 2 books, and I'm just about to publish my 3rd book, which is going to explain a lot more about conversations with animals in spirit, what happens when our animals pass over, and the deep, profound spiritual guidance our animals want to give us. They've told me things to write in this book that I've never heard before. It's absolutely amazing. So they're all the different ways that people can connect with me.
Wonderful. And I've just popped there a link there to the facebook.com/groups/understanding your animals is the group that you can find all the information and connect with Annie. Thank you so much, Annie. Love your work. Absolutely awesome. And now, Denna, you had some things you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just actually had a question for Annie. What's the youngest age that you've worked with in your space with animal communication? Obviously, you talk about supporting parents, animal parents, but have you worked with younger children as well?
Children automatically know how to telepathically communicate with animals. It's something I understand that we can all do, but as we grow up, we grow out of that. But it's something that we can reactivate again. But I've spoken with younger people, and they just know how to do it. But it is something that we can all learn how to do, and then it just totally transforms our relationships with animals when we can have a 2-way conversation with them. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's something that fascinates me more now. I guess I had animals growing up, but I've been, since I've had children, various things have come in my way, and I've actually been told that my daughter actually is an animal healer. One of my youngest daughters, an intuitive person, actually pulled me aside and said this about her, so I've paid more attention to the things and the people that have come in my life who have this gift, because I wouldn't know how to guide her or help her or anything like this in the future. So that's kind of, I've noticed you popped up in various circles that I'm in at various times, and I've always been intrigued with what you do and some of the stuff. So this is really cool. And here I am again, and I guess my appreciation for animals is more so because Audwin is so passionate about it over the years. So yeah, Audwin's good at bringing us all together, isn't she? For her mission.
And I think it's a testament to the work that Jenny's doing to rescue these animals, because otherwise they wouldn't survive in the wild on their own. So it makes such a huge difference, and particularly when she can adopt like siblings or that whole family of swans. So they're going to stay together as a family now, and that's just so important that they can continue those family bonds, because family is really important to our animals as well. So no, I'm just in awe of what Jenny's doing with her work, and it's just so wonderful that we're all able to join together under Aldwin's leadership to be able to make a significant difference for the work that she's doing.
Oh, it's just fantastic. So, Jenny, what other animals, what other birds have you got in there at the moment, and how challenging is it actually rehabilitating these animals?
It's really, really challenging. I've actually got one here. I don't know whether you can see that. So, this is actually a baby cuckoo. So this one I hatched. It came in as an egg. Up a bit further.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this poor little one, its parent went to Currumbin Wildlife Hospital and injured, and it was they put it under anaesthetic, and the egg came out. Well, the adult was under anaesthetic, so they sent the egg to me to hatch and raise, and that's him there. And then this little guy here, whoops, honey, oops, there you are. Sorry,
oh my
that's
God.
a baby magpie. Oops,
wow. So how many days old? Or
so that's only a couple of days old.
Wow, gosh. And so how
Sorry,
often
it's a bit hard to get him in camera.
Are you looking after them round the clock, like at this age?
Yeah, at this age, that's why they're in my office. So I have to feed them every half hour. I get to sleep. They go to sleep though, because the parents go to sleep. Bird parents go to sleep. Then unlike mammals, but yes, I have to continually feed them all day, every day. Without I can't have a break. They need to be
So
fed.
you're in the rain, aren't you, Benny? From memory,
I
you're
am.
in the yeah. I live up in Coomera, and we have in our residential. There's a swan family. There's a swan. The residents look after this area of swans. It's quite beautiful actually, and the council has put up signs about it. And I didn't realise this, but feeding birds or feeding the swans bread is one of the worst things you can do. And I think the general public just think, oh, we'll take bread to feed animals, but on these signs that I've seen, that's not what to do. So I just thought that's pretty important to mention.
That's right. It's quite old school. Bread is quite old school. It's like back in the grandparents, everyone used to go and feed the swans bread and ducks bread. But yeah, a lot of things have changed. So peas, corn, and lettuce, any greens are a wonderful thing to feed them. So and they're cheap. And a can of corn $1 or something like that. So it's cheap food, and it's much better food for them.
So why is bread bad for birds?
Well, there's a few reasons. It's bad for bread going into the waterways. It's also bad for they say that potentially they can get a disease called angel wing, and what it is, it's a deformity of their wing. So their wing literally sticks out to the side, so they can't fly, and they'll never be able to fly if it's that bad. So which means they can't get away from predators. They can't go and find territory to find mates and things like that. So they're pretty much, they will get euthanized if they have terrible angel wing as a general rule, because they can't survive in the wild. And bread is believed to be one of the causes of that, especially when they're young.
Wow. What about wild bird seed that you can get from supermarkets? Is that any good for them?
Yeah, it depends on the brand. Some of the brands are a little bit cheap, and they don't have many vitamins in it too. So things like even a chicken layer mash, that's actually quite a good option to feed the swans, because it's got little pellets in it that generally contain calcium, vitamin Bs, and other natural vitamins. So it just gives them that little bit of extra oomph in their diet as well. But you can just use plain seeds. But swans they do eat seed, but it's not their main diet. They're foragers you've probably seen them. They put their heads down right underneath the water, and they forage around in the muds, and they do get things like worms and eat lots of moss, and they eat all the greens. So feeding them that grain it's okay, but it's not really their natural diet. So they don't really get much grain in the wild. They do eat lots of grass, so they love grass.
Amazing. What are some signs that a swan might have eaten a fish hook? How would people know to keep an eye out for that?
It'd be really hard to tell. It depends on how far the fish hook has gone down. So if they have swallowed it, quite often there is some bit of line that's actually sticking out of the side of the mouth. So you can actually see the line. We did have an instance where a lady actually cut the line, and then the swan, we had to try and catch the swan, or Marina had to try and catch the swan, and unfortunately had to catch several swans because we didn't know which swan had the hook inside of it, because she'd cut the line. So that's but they will actually put their neck up, so they have trouble swallowing. So you'll be able to see them trying to swallow. And sometimes if a swan, they do drink water, but if they're drinking lots and lots of water, that's another sign that something's going on with them, and they might have a fish hook injury.
Wow. See, all these things, this is just fascinating, and I mean, just having this bit of knowledge now, with people watching this, if you are watching this at home, and, let us know what you think of what we're sharing so far. And please share the love, right? Because you never know when you might come across an animal that needs help. And, not just birds, we've got all sorts of animals that need help. So what if it's something like maybe a possum or a wallaby or a koala that's been maybe hit on the side of the road? What do you recommend that people do with those kind of animals?
Yeah, there's several rescue organisations, and it's worth calling them, especially with a kangaroo. A lot of the time, when they've been hit by a car, there is not much that can be done. It's always important to pouch check. So, especially, and make sure that if it's a female, check their pouch and see if there's a baby inside. And then if there is, then hopefully the wildlife organisation can rush rescue and hopefully save that baby if need be. So a lot of injuries for car strikes are actually quite severe, and there is quite a few volunteers that will go out and unfortunately have to euthanize these animals at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning whenever that's called in. So it's a big effort on their part to do that, but it just puts that poor animal out of their misery. So we do have instances where people don't call it in, and it's a real shame. So the animal's lying on the side of the road for hours on end until somebody realizes that they're half still alive and found them and needed to call them in. So there's some quite horrific stories, and the emergency rescuers, they see some horrific things with animal injuries.
Oh my gosh. And there have been, sightings of, like, I remember up at Coomera, actually, a koala turned up at a 7-Eleven a few years ago. And I know Dennis is going to chat now about a koala story. But, what's happened, of course, on the Gold Coast, a lot of koala habitat has been chopped down. There's developers have been coming in left, right, and centre, thanks to this very developer-friendly council that we have at the moment. And in fact, we do have Councillor Herman Vorster coming. He's going to talk about what council are doing to help the wildlife, because I'm sure they are doing their bit to help the wildlife as well, as much as they're chopping down trees with developers. So the habitat is basically disappearing. And so what are these poor animals meant to do? So Denny, can you share about your koala story today, please?
Yeah, when you were saying that, I just realised, like, this evening when I picked up my daughter from dance at the school, everyone was gawking up in this tree. There was this baby koala. It was very active, because koalas just normally sleep in a tree, right? But this koala was very active. It was climbing up and down. It was coming to the fence. Teachers were trying to keep the kids away. It was clearly distressed, trying to get back to its family. It was like a baby koala, but yeah, I've got video, I've got photos, but you just don't normally see them active koalas like this, but it was clearly distressed. So that was a bit of action this afternoon at the school.
Wow. Well,
so,
see, we'll probably see more of this.
You don't normally see koalas at a school ground. So
No, and I think we'll be seeing more of this moving forward because of the amount of development that's going on the Gold Coast, and in fact other parts of Australia. And during the bushfires that happened even down south, we lost half of Australia's koala population. So we actually did a fundraiser. One of our animal action events was for koalas, and I learned a lot about koalas that year. And we had about 50,000 koalas at that point. They're critically endangered, and through those bushfires down in New South Wales and Victoria, we lost about half the population of koalas. So now we're down to less than 25,000 left in the wild now, and they sleep 20 hours a day, and they're very territorial, as in they're once they put their scent on the tree, and they mark the tree. And so if their tree gets chopped down, they get very stressed. And Jenny, have you done some koala rescues? What do you know about koalas that could?
No, I've only been lucky enough to do koala releases, so which is the nice part. But yeah, I mean, certainly that the issue that I have is that they're chopping down trees, doing development. Yes, sure, we need it, but then they go and say, okay, we're going to plant. So you're going to build this building. You need to plant 4 eucalypts for the koalas. They take such a long time to grow. The koala can't eat them tomorrow or next year or the year after or the year after that. They can't use them. They can't feed off them. So when we're taking their environment away, but that is the excuse, is we can plant another tree, and I'm sure half the trees die that get planted in their place anyway. So it's one of part of council's regulations is if you remove a eucalypt or a tree, you've got to replace it. But it just doesn't ever seem to. It's not a problem. It doesn't solve anything.
No, and having 4 eucalypt trees in different parts of the yard. I mean, they need to be able to jump from tree to tree too, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And if people have dogs in their yard, a lot of koalas actually get attacked by dogs, and then a lot of dead koalas are found right underneath signs that say "Beware of koalas." So just slow down at night. Slow down if you're driving around these areas, guys. Just slow down. Look out for wildlife. And I always stop if I see an animal on the side of the road that I think may or may not be alive. If they look fairly freshly, I always stop. I'll just find it, and sometimes it's on the highways, and it's a bit tricky to sort of, get up. But obviously, in the safest way possible, get off the road and just at least go check on that animal. And then people do find an animal. Like I found a possum once many years ago. I was at the Queensland Times in Ipswich, and I was driving home to Wood End, and there was this sort of possum that was just sort of like, it was just struggling to get it. It had clearly just been hit, but it was struggling to get across the road. And I pulled over, and I actually just grabbed a sort of towel and put it in the car, and I quickly just went and called all the wildlife places I could get onto, and I got onto this amazing wildlife rescue place. This lady came from like 2 hours away. This is like 11 o'clock at night, so she came like 1, 2 in the morning, picked up this possum, and it was a 1.5-year-old male possum. And she said if I hadn't picked up that possum, it would have died because it actually broke its jaw because of where it got hit by the car. It wouldn't have been able to feed itself. And so just something like that, we can all do something to help save a life out there, and always check in. What other animal action tips have you got for us, Jenny, that some things that can empower people? I mean, just sharing this video right now is something people can do. Turn up to the animal action event, buy some raffle tickets. We've got hundreds of thousands of dollars of raffle tickets. It's insane how generous people have been with their donations. It's going to be a fantastic day. Tickets are only $45 plus booking fee. You can buy 4 and get 1 free at the moment. So it's going to be an amazing event. So any other animal action tips, Jenny? I'm going to pop the Humanitix link in here for people to get tickets if they want to come and join us. But any animal action tips whatsoever would be fantastic to share right now.
I couldn't really say what people. I mean, it depends on what people do and where they are in their lives, and what they want to contribute. So people can actually take action by doing basic things around their yard. They can take action by lobbying the council for development applications and trying to improve their environment. They can work with community groups and grow nature strips on parklands or any land that they own or any school land. They can get involved. They can volunteer for wildlife organisations. So we have quite a few volunteers that come and help us, and it's not a luxury thing to do. They clean poop, they feed. It's lots of cleaning. There is lots of poop. So just what has to be done. And food everywhere.
Do you have a minimal age for volunteers? Do you have a minimal age for volunteering that you have?
No, not really. Yeah, not really. But they've got to be able to engage and clean. So not many kids want to clean particularly. It's not the fun part. And there's lots of cleaning. And ducks are very, very messy. Very messy. If you give them a bowl of food, they'll make sure that food is on every single surface anywhere near them. So it's a lot of work.
So they love to play by the sound of it.
They love to play. They play in their water, they play in their food, and then they spread it everywhere.
Oh my gosh! Now, Dana, I know you have to run shortly, and we will wrap up fairly soon. Now, Dana, you're of course great. You've offered to volunteer and come along and support on the day, and you are Dana the connector. You've got so many connections. You're always giving so much back to the community. So thank you so much for what you do, Dana, as well. You know, every bit helps. We've got so many volunteers and supporters, and I thank each one of you. This event will not be the same without you. And I actually do a big shout out to Alana Fitzgerald as well. Alana is going to be coming along as well to have a stall and selling some stuff from Bobby Running Fox, is amazing performer here on the coast that we've had at previous events, and she'll have some of their gear there, some CDs on offer, a few stalls there. We've got a Psychic Monica Award coming. We've got face painting with Suzanne Bowles and painted faces. We've got my yoga teacher Sonali coming. She's going to do some lovely stretching and meditation, and we've just got some awesome stuff happening. So check out all the blurb on Humanitics for that. Now, Dana, anything you want to share before you run off?
Yeah, I was just, well, we were talking about elephants before. I know that were important to Keith. He mentioned that in the green room, so to speak, and you obviously have your own story in Pattaya. Now, I have my own elephant story. Actually, I have two, but in Thailand, in northern Thailand, in Chiang Mai, my background's travel, and I actually took agents to Thailand. I ran a meal for the company that I worked for in a world before kids, and it was the Elephant Nature Park in Chiang Mai, and it's a sanctuary. And when you get to watch the animals and like, I'm not a spiritual person, like can communicate, but it's very. The best way I can describe it is, that television show that used to be on called Meerkat Manor. So animals have personalities. So when you start to observe these elephants all together, besides what the volunteers and the people in the sanctuary would tell you about them, it's like a drama. It's like a soap opera for elephants. It was some really interesting stories. And I'll put the link in of this place. I had a very amazing moment because I was actually in my second trimester when I went to that trip, but I hadn't told anyone. Well, my work knew, but I hadn't told anyone on the tour, so to speak, or when I was there. And I had this moment with this elephant when it kept rubbing up next to me, and it put its trunk on my tummy, and the guide or someone said, "Oh, this is really odd. This elephant never gets close to people," but it was circling around me and it put its trunk on my tummy. So that was one of those weird things, I guess, that opened my eyes to something special about animals. And like I said, I was in Thailand with agents, and my brother's adopted from Thailand, so that was kind of special for me. And then my other experience with elephants was when I was in Nepal. So you talked about bathing them. So yeah, I remember washing, like, we did actually get to ride them, but not in a sense where they do it in some places, and people question that. We were literally in Nepal. They're the happiest people in the world, even though they have nothing in Nepal. We were walking our way through crocodile-infested waters, and here we are, which we learn afterwards. But we're bathing with these elephants. We're washing them with their person. I can't even think of the name, Mahout, or like there's a person that is sort of designated to the life. So yeah, it's just stories around that, and then just the stories around the elephant. Now, I don't remember the full story. I'm sure it's on the website, but there was an elephant that was rescued. It obviously been in a bit of an abusive situation. It had been pulling logs. It was even made to pull logs while it was pregnant. It had the baby while it was working, and it had rolled, like the baby was basically born and rolled down the hill as well. And so all these stories that like are scary that you hear when you're at these elephant nature parks, and you can volunteer. I mean, I used to work for a company, and they did volunteer trips. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please get in touch with me. I'm in the travel industry, and I work for a company that's Agent Solutions, but we also can book travel. So I can always share links and around that, and I'll put the Elephant Sanctuary Park details in there in Chiang Mai. But it was really, it's a really humbling experience when you get really close up to it. And the one thing I remember is thinking, this could be a freaking movie. Like when you hear the stories about the elephants, and it's like someone's got to write a script. You know, it's just the way they interact and their personalities. And like I'm seeing Annie like just like bobbing her head up and down because she gets it. I didn't get it at the time, but you know, from someone who had that experience of like not believing or not really understanding, and then how did this elephant know? You know, it's just one of those really weird things. But it knew, and everyone, and then she made a joke. She goes, "Oh, you're not pregnant, are you?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah." So yeah, it was just one of those really kind of things that you can't describe unless you've had it happen to you.
Yes, yes. I absolutely love elephants. I so love them. And you know what? I get so upset when I see people riding elephants on with the carriages. It actually breaks their backs. It's very, very bad for them. And I know some people do ride them without the carriages. I think, you know, the more natural we can leave animals in their natural environment, ideally the better. However, I would say also animals do like human connection, and Annie can probably speak more into this. But
Well, we
if you
were
need
going out to climb up on them, so to clean them,
Yeah.
because whatever we were using, like
Right.
how they pick you up, so they wanted you to scrub them. We were told, you know.
Right.
with this,
Yeah, and they do love that.
rock
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah, they love that. I must say the elephants that I've bathed, they absolutely love it when we had little brushes, we're brushing them because they've got quite coarse little hairs, and just brushing them, they just love it, you know, so they absolutely love that. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize is when they actually do elephant riding with those big carriages, it does break their backs, and it's very, very bad for them. And how I discovered this is I was actually on a business event overseas, actually in Thailand, quite a few years ago, and they said at this event, they said, "Oh, we're going to take you out on a surprise trip for the day," and that's exactly where they took us, to this elephant park where they did all this elephant riding. And I hadn't been elephant riding before. I thought, "Oh yeah, I'll give this a go." And then the minute I hopped on this elephant, I felt so bad because the elephant was struggling to walk. And it's not just that I'm really heavy. I'm sure it's not that I was really heavy. I mean, it was like, you know, it's just that it was just struggling, and I just felt so bad. It was like my heart was sinking. And then I started to look into what happens when they break the elephants in and all that. So I started to do a bit of research, and I was horrified by what I saw on YouTube about how these elephants are broken in and what happens with these carriages on their back. And if we can just get that word out, so that when people do go traveling to places like Thailand, that they'll actually do the ecotourism, actually go to these sanctuaries and support. And I actually took a group of about 10 people when I was in Thailand recently. The last time I went to this Pattaya elephant sanctuary, about 10 of us went there, and it opened all their minds up to actually understand a bit more about elephants, because people don't know until they know, right? We all do the best we can with what we know. And you know, just getting the word out can make the world of difference. And now, Annie, what's your thoughts on this? We've got your Denna's link up there that will so people can hop on the travelshow.com.au to find out more and reach out to Denna. So, what are your thoughts about this, Annie, and the elephants?
Look, I think it's a lot of people don't understand what happens to animals in commercial situations, but also in the wild. And it's only when they get to read about it or actually get to go and experience it or watch it that they understand what actually happens. So, you know, I've heard people going on lots of different tours thinking that they were actually helping animal conservation by doing all of these activities, only to come home and find out afterwards how much they were misled, and that, you know, a lot of this is just making profits for the people who own the animals. So a lot of them aren't well cared for. And yes, they are in pain, and that's just really unfortunate. So a lot of this is just raising awareness globally about what is happening with animals in reality and what we can do to make a difference for them. And that's why in my first book I interviewed a number of spokes animals for different species, just to find out what was really happening for them, so I could share their stories in their words. Some of that was really harrowing. It was a really difficult chapter to write, but I just wanted to respect them and share their messages. And people have said to me, I had no idea that was happening. So a lot of this is hidden the general public don't know what happens with a lot of animals. So, it's a good opportunity, being positive about it, that yes, there is time for us to educate people and make a difference so that we can stop some of these practices so that animals can have a more fulfilled, comfortable life and not be in pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Denna's asking, what's the name of that book?
My first book is The Bridge to Animal Consciousness, and the sequel is Crossing the Bridge to Animal Consciousness, and that will be coming out this year. And then there'll be a third book in the trilogy, which is Beyond the Bridge to Animal Consciousness. And I'm not sure what's going to be in that book yet because I haven't been told, but it will be important messages that the animals want me to get out on their behalf.
Wonderful. Wow. Oh, just amazing. I'm so grateful for all of your support. It's phenomenal. And Jenny, I know you've got some babies that need feeding there, and I don't want to keep you too long on here, so you can look after your little babies. And oh my gosh, if I had 30 birds on my property right now, I just want to be hanging out with them every second. But it must also get taxing on you. I mean, how do you sleep? How do you find time to rest amongst all that?
It is taxing, especially when you have 20 or 30 baby birds screaming at you. So I get up in the morning, I have a coffee, I do some work on the computer, and then shoot down and start getting everyone out of bed. And the noise is just overwhelming, and everyone's screaming for food. So you're going to run around and try and get everyone fed and slow, just make it calm again, because it's a bit chaotic and they're getting anxious. So yeah, and it takes me 2 hours to 3 hours to sort everyone out in the morning, and generally an hour at night just to give everyone the final feed before they go to bed as well. So, and then I feed the adults and other birds about 3 times a day. So, and then the babies probably about 5 to 8 times a day, and then the little guys, I said, every half an hour or so. So
Wow.
it's constant.
Wow, that is extraordinary. And you have no government funding, is that correct?
No government funding, no. I have to apply for grants just like everyone else. So, yeah, no, there's no funding, no tax advantage for being a carer, as well as if you're a carer and you choose to look after wildlife. Unfortunately, there's no tax advantage. It's all out of your own pocket.
Well, it's amazing. You're saving lives every day, though, Jenny. On one hand, I'm sure it would be very satisfying in one hand, and then I'm sure, like a lot of animal carers, you see some absolutely heartbreaking things as well. And it's like the yin yang of life. There's always going to be light where there's dark and dark where there's light. They're always going to have great people doing amazing things for animals, and you're always going to have people that aren't. And I always say, hurt people, and the people that are often cruel to animals often are cruel to other people as well. And they're often people that don't love their own lives, and they need to feel like they need to prove something. But I do believe in karma. I think what comes around goes around. And I do believe in kindness as much as possible. And I have my rants and I say my piece about things, and I am coming from a loving space, and I do wish everyone well out there. And my prayer for the world is that we can find peace, and that world peace comes from having that peace within. And so the way I look at it is, the more people love their lives and do what they love, the less animal cruelty we're going to have out there. The more people will actually care about the environment, pick up their rubbish, and all these little things. Feed animals nutritious food if you're going to feed them food. Maybe consider being vegetarian or vegan if that's if you feel good about that. There's something we can all do to make a difference for animals. So Jenny, people can actually donate directly to you. They can volunteer with you. I'm sure, so you can at least get some sleep. It might be good to have some other people that can feed your birds occasionally.
That's right. Yes.
And those little babies you've got there, how long will they be in your care before you can release them?
Months, yeah. So it does vary, but I can have a bird in here for 6 months. So it can be a long time. It's a long relationship I have with them. And it's a matter of making sure that they're ready to go out into the wild as well. So there's that connection, because I believe in connection with the animals. So it is not necessarily legislation. We're not allowed to humanize, and we're not allowed to imprint. but I believe a connection is required. Still as a baby, I sort of liken it like the guys that I've got here. You need to have that connection with them. If it's like a baby, if you put a baby human in a crib and say, you can stay there, you can sleep there, I'm not going to touch you, I'm not going to interact with you, I'm not going to share any energy with you, then, that child is going to have issues. And I believe it's the same with the animals. So I do try to connect, and I do try to interact and give them a cuddle. I know we're not allowed to, but especially at that young age, making sure that they touch and heartbeat, and they get to see it. Even birds. I think they're so used to having their parents there. They'll have their parents' heartbeat. They'll have their parents' warmth, and I think we need to provide that as well.
Absolutely. Oh, totally. Some of this legislation just needs to be thrown out the door. It's just outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, I was born 3 weeks early in a humidity crib, and life's never quite been the same since. I've been on this constant, constant journey of looking for love ever since. We need touch, we need love, we need affection. It makes absolutely no sense to not have that bond and connection. And of course, animals are designed to be in the wild, but they also love company. How many times do you see birds kissing each other? And imagine birds being on their own without any company. Like any animal, right?
That's right.
We all like some loving every now and then, right? Whether it comes from humans or other animals, and some affection.
Exactly. And I do find that birds are a lot like human teenagers too. You can raise them, they can be all loving and caring. Oh, mum, love you, love you, love you. They hit the teenagers, they're gone. They just they do exactly the same thing. Especially crested pigeons are notorious for it. So they'll be up loving you and sitting on your shoulder and nuzzling, and then as soon as they become a teenager, they're gone. They don't want to know you. They distance themselves from you.
Fascinating. Wow. How human-like birds are. Wow. That could be a whole other series. That could be another interview with Jenny.
Well, see, Annie's got to get involved with that conversation, though.
That might be the first book, Annie. I'm just kidding.
Well, we are actually doing another live stream. We are going to, we're having another one. And by the way, the first 25 people who get tickets and come along on the day are going to get one of these firefighter calendars. By the way, thanks to the Australian firefighters for donating a whole box of calendars again this year. And there's some gorgeous looking dogs in this calendar, I must say, some beautiful dogs. There you go. It's worth having a nice close-up inspection of these dogs here, because they're absolutely gorgeous. Some lovely eye candy there. So that's worth $23, and it's the biggest selling calendar in the world. So people will get that. The first 25 people to turn up on the day and get their tickets will get one of those.
To ask Keith.
Oh yes,
Keith. Forgot to ask Keith if he'd be prepared to take off his shirt and get photographed with an animal for charity.
Yeah. Let's see what we can arrange on the day. You'll have to be there. What happens at the Animal Action event stays at the Animal Action event, and social media. That's what we usually do have a bit of human animal action as well. So I'm sure it's going to be an amazing day. So for Jenny, for those who want to support you, we know you have a Facebook page. Is that the best place for them to go?
That's the best place, yeah. Aussie Wildlife One. Yep.
Okay.
And,
beautiful.
And people can see what we do and see some of the animals and can connect with us as well as donate. So
wonderful. Well, keep up the amazing work. I'm absolutely blown away. Annie, anything else you want to share from your experience going out there to communicate with the animals at Aussie Wildlife?
Look, I've still got to do some more connecting for the presentation on the 19th. I connect with animals through photographs, and I didn't have time to connect with all the animals because I saw so many and lots of the little babies as well. So I actually want to take the time to get some of their stories together so I can share them on the day. But I just think it's raising people's awareness to the fact of the emotional impact when an animal needs to be rescued. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a bird or another animal. And just being aware that there are physical impacts and that there are psychological and emotional impacts. And so a lot of our rescue animals are on this healing journey, and a lot of that is hidden to us, what they're actually going through. But when I have a conversation with them, they can share some of what they're still experiencing. And so for anyone who's looking after a rescue animal, it's being really sensitive and really patient, that they're going through this whole thing. They've been separated from their family. They might be in pain. They don't know what's going to happen. They're scared. And, you know, doing the nurturing that Jenny's doing, where they're getting that touch, they're being held, they're being warm, they're getting their little tiny little nest enclosures she's got them in, so that they're feeling secure in there. They're all sorts of things that are really important to help our animals thrive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And I've just popped up there. Check out Aussie Wildlife, facebook.com/Aussie Wildlife 1. Please support our supporters. You will find them on the Animal Action Events Facebook page. Grab your tickets at Humanitix. We are going to have another live stream where you can meet people from supporters, some of the legends. We never know who's going to show up on these live streams, but we will have some amazing people as well next Wednesday, November 8, at the same time, 7:30 p.m. next Wednesday, November 8, and all the Animal Action performers, supporters, volunteers, etc. welcome to come and join us. So the perfect people are always here to do that. Now, before we wrap up today, any final words? I'd like to just go around the room. Any final words from you guys before we wrap up and bid everyone a good night here on the Gold Coast? Jenny, over to you first. Any final words?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for your help and all the supporters' help, and for everyone who's going to attend the day. Like it's just going to make such a difference to what we do and how much we can help the animals. It's I'm blown away. I'm absolutely overwhelmed, and I don't know quite what to say. It's one of those things. It's just wow. Thank you to everyone.
Oh, well, look, it's an absolute pleasure. And, they say there's no greater purpose than being of service. And I'm very passionate about animals. I've always wanted to help animals, and it's amazing, with everyone watching this, there might be some things that you're passionate about, and maybe you're thinking to yourself, gee, it's all such a big issue. What can I do as little old me to help this big issue? Whether it's child sex slavery, which I've just seen the Sound of Freedom movie the other day, that was absolutely mind-blowing as well. And my heart goes out to all the child sex slaves out there. That's just a whole other topic. But, there's so many good causes out there, and there's, different people will feel more aligned to different causes, etc. But this whole concept of the whole Animal Action events is to take some action towards whatever it is you're passionate about. And this is what we've seen. There's a 17th annual event now, and I am blown away by how supportive the community have been. Every time I put an event on, how many people have come forward and said, I'll donate this, I'll do this for free, I'll come and perform. It's just mind-blowing. So it just goes to show that when you put that little rock in the ocean, in the water, right, the pebble in the water, how the ripple effect of that can make such a huge difference. And huge thank you to everyone involved, and huge thank you, Jenny, for your tireless work saving all those beautiful animals. And this is the thing, we keep the crusade going, we keep being a stand for what we believe in and how we can make a difference. And it's a great honor and privilege to be able to help you and help this beautiful grassroots charity here on the Gold Coast in Nerang. And check out the Facebook page. Thank you so much, Jenny. So looking forward to seeing what we can do to not just raise funds, but also a lot of awareness around what you're doing. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Jenny. And Dana, let's go to you next. Any final words?
Well, I'm just hoping my community, my friends, my contacts in the Facebook world or YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever you are, Audwin, you're everywhere. I'm a part of your mass media mastery program, and this is a great example of, I don't have animals, and I was curious to why I should show up, but you've shown me, Audwin, that even if you have a business, you can be part of the conversation in various media activities, and that's how you get your I guess personality shown, and that's how business should be done, is by people obviously getting to know you. So that's what I've enjoyed about this. I'm surprised that I could actually be part of the conversation, which was nice. Yeah, I want everyone to dig deep. I believe in, you know, combating fundraising fatigue. So we've all got to get around Jenny and her charity and make sure that you don't have to turn up. There's so many ways I'm sure that you can donate. Aldwyn always wants more raffle donations. Yeah, there's plenty of ways, and I've been inspired by following this through now. I've never been to Sri Lanka or Colombo, and I'm wondering if there's a travel junket in the future, Aldwyn, that we might need to talk to Keith about. You know, and
so.
maybe it's for charity. You know,
so that would be
stuff
amazing.
we can talk about in the future.
Yeah, a media famil, we used to call it.
Yeah, let's all rally around Jenny.
Yes.
Let's all rally around Jenny, and if you can't turn up on the day, contact Aldrin or myself, because we'll make sure that you are represented. If you donate, if you do something, we'll make sure, the dynamic duo, we'll make sure that your business is, you know, thanked where it needs to be thanked.
Yes, it always comes back around, right? That's why we support our supporters. It always comes back around. It's always good karma to support a great cause. And, you know, I mean, what is there not to love about animals? I mean, just check out the Aussie Wildlife Facebook page and you'll see all the beautiful, beautiful birds on there. And I mean, in between Jenny feeding birds every half an hour, every now and then she'll pop up and put a post on social media. But, you know, I'm sure you need a lot more support with your marketing as well, Jenny, right? So, with everything else you're doing. So, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Dana, for those lovely words. And exactly right. Everyone can do something to make a difference, whether you've got pets or don't have pets. You know, it doesn't matter. Everyone can share this post. Everyone can comment on this post. Everyone can make a different choice when they go shopping, right? Look out for palm oil, right? Palm oil is in just about everything. In fact, I was shocked when I was flying in to Kuala Lumpur, and for about half an hour flying into the airport, all I could see was palm trees, which was once rainforest where the orangutans used to live, right? I was horrified. And ever since we did an orangutan fundraiser many years ago, I've been very conscious of palm oil, and often it's disguised as vegetable oil. And I mean, that's a whole other topic. You know, there's so many things we can do for so many animals, and just take some action somewhere, even the smallest action will make a big difference. Annie, over to you for final words. And I'll just unmute you there.
Thank you. Yes, well, I want to say thank you to you, Aldwyn, for initiating the animal action events and having run them for so many years. That's just a phenomenal achievement. And so many animals in all sorts of different areas have been affected with the benefits of the fundraising. And I think it was wonderful to go and visit Jenny's facility and actually see hands-on what she and the volunteers are doing with the birds there. It just, you know, makes it really real, actually going and seeing and hearing the stories about, you know, how the animals have been found. But what I think is really positive is, yes, they're doing rescues, but they're doing the rehabilitation, and then they do the release so that the animals, you know, can go back to the wild when they find a safe environment to release them to. And I just think, you know, that's just wonderful for the animals to be able to go back, maybe not to where their families were, but at least to have another lease on life. So it's all very positive, despite all the hard work and lack of sleep with doing all the feeding, because I know I was there looking at some of the babies being fed, and like they're just so demanding with these little open mouths going more. So and especially when you said you've got some of them there for 6 months, like that is a labour of love. But how beautiful, because the animals really appreciate everything that's done for them. And yeah, I just think it's a great opportunity to make a difference for our wildlife. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Annie, for your support. And you supported some of our previous events as well. So big shout out. Really appreciate your work. And you certainly brought a lot of calm to me when my beautiful tiger died, and to be able to have a conversation with you, and because I had some guilt that I'd been traveling for a while, and I came back to my cat. And even though there were other people looking after Tiger, you know, he still missed me, and I felt really guilty until I spoke to you, and then I realized that actually, you know, your animals don't hold a grudge. They have so much love, right? And that was very comforting for me to know that. And then soon afterwards, I was given an opportunity to adopt another cat, a rescue cat, which is Pablo, who's Pablo. Here he is. He's actually 5 years old, 5-year-old male, and he was very anxious. very, very anxious coming in, and it's taken a few months, and he's now starting to really, settle in, and now I'm able to support another beautiful little putty cat. And so we can all do our bit. We can all do our bit to help in some way. And I take my hat off to everyone who has helped any animal at any point in your life. It all makes a difference. And thank you so much for your support. And if you can attend our event, fantastic. It'd be great to see you there. We do have a limited number of tickets, so I recommend get in soon with the tickets. They're currently $45 plus booking fee, or you buy 4 tickets and you can get 1 free for that price. And it will go up. The prices are going to go up closer to the date. It includes nibbles. We're going to have tea and coffee station. There'll be a bar there, all the entertainment stalls, thousands of dollars of raffle prizes. I can almost guarantee you're going to go away with a lot more than you've invested in. I'd say nearly everyone there will win a raffle prize. We have that many raffle prizes. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And thanks to Cindy Tavner, who's been looking after that. Thanks to Lynn Santa, who alerted me to Aussie Wildlife, and to Keith Potcher, and also has made a cash donation. So if you can't make it there in person as well, you can always give a donation to the cause. We'd very much appreciate that. And hop over to Humanitix. On Humanitix, just look up Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife. Or you can also you'll find the event listed on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We're all over the place. And we'll be back next Wednesday for another live stream with some of our legends behind the Animal Action Day for Aussie Wildlife. Thank you once again to all our supporters, all helping Aussie Wildlife, amazing charity. Thank you. Blessings to you. And here's to a wonderful night, sending you all love. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the event November 19 at Mermaid Waters Hotel, 10 till 5, full day on Sunday. Come along, bring your family, and let's all have a great time celebrating animals and raising awareness, appreciation, and respect for all animals. Thank you so much once again, and we'll